Last time on the Sonic Marathon, I talked about Sonic Colors. Yeah, that's about it. Enjoy!
Sonic Generations, the title to celebrate the 20 years of, let's be honest here, survival of Sonic. After the disgrace that was the 15th year anniversary for the Hedgehog, Sonic's been having a hard time trying to get some respect back. And after Secret Rings, well, let's just say the Hedgehog was at an all-time low. Not until Unleashed came out. While it was a good game, the reviews weren't that positive, and let's be honest here, they were mostly in bad faith. But one thing was for sure, the game was say it with me guys, a step in the right.
Great. Dare finish that sentence. Don't do it. I'm sick of it.
Black Knight came around, and it wasn't received all too well, sadly. I actually kinda liked that game, and after that, we thought Sonic would never get back up. Until Sonic Colors released, and it was received pretty well. Doesn't matter how you feel about the game nowadays. And then Generations came out, and we are so back! Unlike Sonic Colors, which hasn't aged the best, Sonic Generations has aged phenomenally. Don't tell anyone, but this is one of my favorite Sonic games to this day. Talk about being a love letter to the series. And speaking of love letter, why don't we discuss how this game is a beautiful love letter to the series? You thought we would start with the story? Lol, what story? For real though, talk about celebrating your history. From your humble beginnings, to your dark days, to your whatever days Unleashed and Colors were in. You can find some pretty cool Easter eggs throughout the whole game. What, from simple yet cute nuts with Sonic doing the adventure pose, to some missing posters showing characters like Mighty, Ray, and Fang, to the introduction of the Shadow Rival fight, to a whole ass statue room? Finally, I can pray too big. And that's not where it all ends. There's references and continuations in the tracks, but more on that later. We even get to play the original Sonic the Hedgehog. Come on now, that's charming as hell. How can you not like that? And who could forget all the concept art, not just for this game, but also the rest of the games, from the levels that appear in this one. I just know that I'm missing a lot of stuff, and I won't be able to talk about them all, but it's still so cool that they added those things in here. Major props to the developers. Okay. Now we can discuss something that's not good. Like, in air quotes, the story. Just like in Sonic Colors, we begin the story with gameplay. Now I understand why that's the case. Of course, this being a celebration for the series, it makes sense that it starts exactly like the first Sonic game. Okay, let's talk about the story. Classic Sonic runs a little bit, and then a giant monster appears and sucks on time. Turns out that today is none other than Sonic's birthday.
Surprise!
Tails can create whatever he wants. Instead of giving Sonic something that he can at least use more than once, he gives him a chili dog. As if Sonic couldn't grab a chili dog any other day of the week. You're a bad friend, Tails. However, right as Sonic starts eating the chili dog, the giant monster comes out. Sonic loses the love of his life and kidnaps all of his friends. Not Sonic, the giant monster. But it doesn't matter. Sonic gets one shot and dies. Or does he? Nah, not yet. He wakes up in a white space world and explores a familiar place.
Is it me, or is that place we were just in awfully familiar?
Are you serious, Sonic? Turns out whatever the monster did sucked up the life and energy of the place. While watching this cutscene, I also realized that the game was foreshadowing Ian Flynn.
No stranger than rescuing genies in magic books or saving aliens in an interstellar amusement park.
In the distance, we see a plant factory. A chemical plant factory. It's chemical plant. Sonic goes off to explore, saying he'll be back in a flash. Classic Sonic appears and tells his confused for some reason? Whatever, let's go to chemical plant, baby.
And that pink water makes me really nervous for some reason.
My 8-year-old self is having a heart attack right about now thinking about this place. We walk around this mirror place thing and Eggman calls forth. That's where Sonic finds out that...
Another Sonic! What? Wait a second!
You're too slow!
Classic Sonic defeats Eggman, and he then gets kidnapped. What the flip is going on? Anyway, don't you just love how they introduce a new character out of nowhere?
We're traveling through time and space!
Well, no shit.
Fun fact, Classic Sonic was gonna talk in the game, but he didn't. I think Jaleel White was gonna voice him, but I could be wrong. I told you this game had less of a story than Colors, right? Because now we're at Seaside Hill, and that's where the story continues. You would think with all these Easter eggs and small references that we would have something similar to that for the story, but that's just not the case. And that's so underwhelming. I also hate how they give us some exposition about something we already know. Thanks, game. I like how the developers got so lazy that they just decided that an emerald is just floating somewhere in white space. Like, it doesn't matter one bit. No extra boss or anything. Just a random emerald that thinks it's too cool to be like the other emeralds. Dick. We skip to Planet Wisp. Yeah, I told you, this story is nothing. And we finally get the random emerald. We defeat Eggman once again, and then he gets kidnapped once more. What the hecky decky is going on? Anyways, final cutscene. Yeah, the final cutscene.
You better give up now!
You're not in a position to demand anything, you nasty little pincushion.
Eggman's the bad guy?
Nobody calls me that anymore.
Okay, anyway, Robotnik tells Eggman how he managed to create or find this giant monster thing. Eggman explains that after being defeated in Sonic Colors, he discovered the Time Eater and went back in time to undo his defeats. Whatever. Sonic and Mini Sonic fight the giant monster and get one-shotted. Before they can die, the power of friendship gives them the motivation to fight. Sonic and Classic Sonic transform into Super Sonic with Sonic 4 music of all games and go off to fight both Eggmen. Sonic defeat both of the Eggmen and go back to the present. The chili dog is still warm somehow. Everything is all good now. Classic Sonic and Classic Tails go back to the past, with modern Sonic telling Classic Sonic the biggest lie of all time.
Hey, Sonic! Enjoy your future! It's gonna be great!
Credit scene with both Eggmen bickering. Just like Colors, this does nothing to further anything, so it's a big waste of time. I told you there was barely a story here. Less than Colors. And because there's nothing to talk about here, I don't think there's anything I could add aside from this is the biggest nothing burger in the series, which is a shame considering the game we're playing. At least we're done with that. Let's talk about something that's actually good. Like the soundtrack. This point is going to be very, very short. Without a doubt, one of the most underrated soundtracks in the series. Yes, I mean that. Remember how earlier I said that there were references and Easter eggs even in the music? Well, here we go. Aside from the obvious tracks from past levels, there's also some nice pieces of music from some Sonic games that aren't as known. Like the Collection Room has Door into Summer from Knuckles Chaotix. Or in Classic City Escape, where there's a moment where it plays Endless Mine from the Sonic 3 multiplayer. Or even modern Seaside Hill having Ocean Palace in the track. Like, come on! How could you not like that? I guess the soundtrack being mostly remixes makes sense why people don't talk about it that much, but it's still kind of a sin we don't talk more about it. Yep, this was super short because at a certain point, you can't talk about the music without saying, yes, the music for insert Sonic game is good. It gets old. Speaking of old, the gameplay. This game's gameplay blows Sonic Colors out of the water. Unlike Sonic Colors, where the gameplay and level design was for the most part just decent, in Generations, it's good through and through. Mostly, Sonic Generations has two types of gameplay, Classic and Modern. Nowadays we see Classic Sonic and we lose our minds, but back when this was first released, it was the coolest shit ever! while he doesn't play like in the classic games, he's still pretty good. Better than Sonic 4 at least, and a bajillion times better than Sonic Forces. Sonic brings forward the spin dash, which in this game is super powerful. Just hold down the X button and he goes flying off at a speed we've never seen the little dude go. However, he ain't the only playable Sonic. Modern Sonic is here too, and he plays exactly like he did in Unleashed and Colors. Kinda. In Unleashed, you press the jump button and then boost the homing attack. Not here though, which honestly kinda threw me off when I played it the first time. He's got everything back. The boost, the homing attack, sidestep, wall jump, and this time I don't need a stupid whisk to do the lightspeed dash. Thank you. Modern Sonic's levels aren't just in 3D though, they're also in 2D. Yeah, okay. It's not a big deal, but I would have preferred if his levels were pure 3D. Like a certain Black Hedgehog. The levels are divided into 3 eras: Classic, Adventure, and Modern. For the classics, we have Green Hill Zone. It's a good introduction, and at the time, it was a nice surprise to have Green Hill Zone. Chemical Plant. Why? Just like Green Hill nowadays, I don't want to see Chemical Plant, but it was good for what it is, at least at the time. And Sky Sanctuary. The best classic Sonic stage. There's multiple places to go and reach the end of the stage, and for Modern, it's the 4th best level in the game. For the Adventure era, we have Speed Highway, which is great for both Sonics, not much I can add. City Escape, the 2nd best stage for classic Sonic, and the 3rd best for Modern Sonic. And Seaside Hill, one of the most underrated levels in the series. For Classic, it's a standard level, but for Modern, there's multiple paths to go, and it's a different experience every time you play it. For the Modern era, we have Crisis City. It never ends! Actually, the levels are pretty good. For Classic, it's a fun level through and through, but the final part of the stage is what separates it from a good stage to a great one. Where are you going? And Modern is honestly one of the more fun levels to speedrun through. Rooftop Run. The best level to speedrun through, especially for Modern Sonic. I am working my way to beat the stage in less than 2 minutes. So far, I'm 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And for Classic, it's a pretty charming level. Unlike Modern, he actually gets to be on the actual clock. Take that, Modern Sonic. And Planet Wisp. The worst level in the game. No contest. Notice how in every level I have something nice to say? Well, I have nothing nice to say about Planet Wisp. For Classic at least. Because for Modern, at least I can say the first minute is pretty solid. Oh, and guess what's back for this game? The Wisp. Yay. To be fair, it makes sense in the context of this game to be here. Speaking of returns, the red rings are back. In Colors, you need them to unlock the emeralds. In this game, you get them to unlock some concept art and some music, or some skills for the Sonics. Actually, if you collect all the red rings for Classic Planet Wisp, you unlock the homing attack for him. It's a nice little bonus for all the hell it put me through. Speaking of unlocking art, the mission stages. Every time you finish the 3 stages for each era, you'll see a bunch of doors. Those are the missions. You do them to get some keys for the bosses. When you do the missions, you unlock more art and get more music and restore life to the world. It's pretty nice. Some of the missions include Sonic's friends, which is honestly better than not having them at all. Speaking of nice, I just realized I started every point with that. Speaking of nice, the bosses. Honestly, some of the best collection of boss fights in the series. Metal Sonic, pretty easy, but considering it's the first one, I don't mind. The Death Egg Robot, honestly, if it didn't appear in Sonic 4 first, I would honestly like this even more. It's still a good boss fight, if a bit too easy. Shadow, it's more of a race than anything, but a good one to be fair, and after playing Shadow Generations, I am never seeing this boss fight the same way again. Perfect Chaos, now this is a great boss fight. I like it more than the original, and I find it so cool how Sonic doesn't even need to go Super Sonic to defeat it. Now that's badass. Silver.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
The best Silver fight. Not like there's a lot of competition to be fair. My favorite part is when he dies. That's fun. Egg Dragoon. Unlike another Sonic game, the Egg Dragoon is actually a great boss fight here. Since Sonic never fought it as his normal self, they got away with being super creative for this boss fight. My favorite in the game, the Time Meter. The worst final boss in the series. Everyone knows why this boss fight sucks. It's not fun. It's boring. It's annoying all at the same time. You mostly press the boost button, praying that you can reach it, but every time you're about to do it, it goes all the way back! And it doesn't help that your friends just don't know when to shut up!
Alright, I get it!
Another thing I want to mention is that once you beat the game, you get access to play as Super Sonic. You equip him and there you go. I mean, he's fine, but nothing that great. Oh yeah, equipment. They're honestly pretty good. Classic Sonic has the best ones. Like, he can use the elemental shields, the homing attack, and even a skateboard. I want a skateboard. How hard can it be to ride one? I do find it weird how we only got Sonic Generations for the big consoles, yet nothing for Nintendo. Oh well, I guess they weren't under contract this time. Huh? There's a what now? You would think it would be another slam dunk for handheld Sonic games. Not this time though. Time, get it? Because Sonic Generations is about time. I'm so funny. Sonic Generations on the 3DS is honestly pretty mediocre, which is a weird thing to say considering it's the same premise, but honestly, it just doesn't have as much fun or replay value as the main console version. Sure, there's different stages like Casino Night Zone, Mushroom Hill, Emerald Coast, Radical Highway, which sucks by the way, Water Palace, which it took me a full minute to even remember it was in the game, and of course, Tropical Resort. Honestly, if it had better level design and the levels were from handheld Sonic games, I would be more forgiving. I won't be forgiving for the bosses though. Those bosses suck ass! For the life of me, I could not tell you which boss fight sticks out in my mind. Well, maybe the Time Eater, because at least that had the decency to have actual movement in the boss. And how do you get the emeralds, you may be asking? Not really. You play the half pipe again! Honestly, I'm sick of seeing them all the time. It makes me sad, and every time I see it, this version of the game is mid. If I skip through a lot of stuff, it's because I straight up forgot about something. Oh yeah, Classic Sonic has the homing attack before the end of the game. What the fuck? Generations is still a great game all these years later. Did it deserve its praise back in 2011? Oh, absolutely. Is it one of my favorite Sonic games? Yes. Is it my favorite 3D Sonic game? No. Is it my favorite Boost title? No. Is it my second favorite Boost title? Yes. I give this game a solid 8.5 out of 10. Over 10 years later, and it's still a banger. This game brought back Sonic to the roots of being loved once again. And I'm sure the next game improved upon this one. See you next time when I talk about... Son of a bitch. Next time on Chunk the Honk, we got Super Mario Galaxy 3 at home. Who are these people that call themselves the Deadly Sex? How did Eggman escape from the White Boy? Parkour next time on the Sonic Marathon. Sonic Lost World. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Ha! Be sure not to miss it!